What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back to a new action camera review. Well, what do we have for today? Well, today we have another action camera from China that can record in real 4K. This one is called the Firefly 8S. Now, you can get this camera in two versions. There is a version that has a field of view of 170 degrees and another version that has a field of view of 90 degrees, and I have the second one. So basically with this version that I have, we don't get any distortion from the lens. Now inside this we have the Ambarella A12S75 processor and the Sony IMX117 image sensor. And that means that we get the same specifications as we get on the SJ-Cam SJ7 Star. However, this one it's much cheaper because you can get this one for around $145 versus like $190 for the other one. And we are starting with a very quick unboxing. So this camera comes in a black box. On the front we see the brand name and the model name, and turning the box around you're gonna find some of the specifications. As soon as you open the box you're gonna find the camera and the waterproof case. Now the manufacturer suggests that the waterproof case is good to up to 20 meters in the water, but as always I haven't actually been swimming with it, but I did have the waterproof case in water and there is no water going inside. Aside from that, we have the user manual. The user manual is only in English and Chinese, but it does have a lot of instructions and pictures on both sides. And like most action cameras from China, you're gonna find a whole bunch of mounts and accessories in the box there. So for example, if you wanna place this camera on a bicycle, you can definitely do that. If you wanna place it on a helmet, you can do that. If you wanna mount it on your car, you can do that. So a lot of options in there. There are a few things worth mentioning about this camera. So first of all, this camera can make a Wi-Fi network and you can connect to that Wi-Fi network with your smartphone and then control the camera right from your smartphone. You're gonna have to download an app on your smartphone, so either iOS or Android, and after that you can start controlling the camera. Now the app itself, it's not the best looking app out there. It's kind of slow and it takes a while to actually connect to the camera, but you can change settings, you can view whatever files you have saved on the camera and so on. So you can basically control the camera up to like 10 meters away from it from your smartphone. Another important feature is the fact that this camera can take an external microphone through that mini USB port on the side, and that's not something that we see for a lot of action cameras these days. The microphone's volume can also be adjusted from the settings, and since we are talking about microphones, I'm gonna show you a few samples recorded with the internal microphone in this camera. This is our first microphone test. As you can probably tell, I am driving and the windows are open, and I have the microphone's volume set at 80%. So this is how the microphone sounds under these conditions. Another quick microphone test. This time around I have the volume set at 90%, and as you can probably tell, I am outside and it is a bit windy. So this is how the microphone sounds. And as you've heard, the internal microphone sounds quite good. Another important feature is the gyro image stabilization. However, you're not going to be able to use that while recording in 4K, so only when you're recording in 1080p. But here is a quick clip with the gyro image stabilization on and the stabilization off. And as you've seen, the gyro stabilization works good, but it's not perfect. But it's the same with the SJ-Cam SJ7 and the other one, the DI T5E, if I remember correctly. So they all have the exact same stabilization. The camera itself, it's made out of this rubberized plastic, and even though it doesn't feel cheap, it doesn't feel as premium as that SJ-Cam SJ7. On the front we have the on-off button, and that's also a mode button. Just above that we have what they call a selfie lens, and just above that the model name and the brand name, and of course the lens. On top we have the OK and the recording button, and that button also lights up, but you can turn off those LEDs at any time. On the right hand side we are going to find two navigation buttons, and you can actually turn on the Wi-Fi if you press one of those navigation buttons. And moving to the other side of the camera, there we have the HDMI port and also a mini USB port. Now this camera can be used while charging, so you can connect this camera to a power bank or anything like that, and you can continue recording while the camera is charging. And since that's available, you can also use this as a dash cam in your car. And lastly, although at the bottom you're gonna find a little plastic door that lets you access the removable 1200 mAh battery. You can get about 50 minutes of recording time if you're recording at 4K at 30 frames per second, or about an hour and 20 minutes if you're recording at 1080p at 60 frames per second. And charging the battery takes about 2 hours and 20 minutes. And moving to the back of the camera, there you're gonna find a slot for the SD card. This camera can take SD cards up to 128 gigs. However, I've been using the same 64 gig SD card just because they're cheaper and they work very well. The 2-inch screen is also better than a lot of screens that we've seen on previous action cameras on the channel here, so the viewing angles are acceptable and the screen seems to get bright enough so you can actually see it outside. Next on the list is the video quality, and as you're about to see, the quality is very close to the SJ7 Star. But here are a couple of samples for daytime recordings. We have yet another microphone test. This time around I'm recording in 4K at 30 frames per second and the microphone's volume is set to 90%. And as you've seen, it does look quite good, but unfortunately we haven't had that much sun over the past 3 days and I couldn't get any footage under sunshine. Next we are going to check out some recordings done at nighttime. And as you've seen, the nighttime recordings aren't bad, but they're far from spectacular, so definitely a lot of noise in all those recordings. Next we're gonna check out some pictures. And as you've seen, the pictures taken in daylight look very nice and crisp, but unfortunately the pictures taken in low light don't look good at all, so they're very shaky and out of focus. The 8S can also make time lapses and you don't have to stitch the pictures together. You basically press the record button and the camera will do the rest and you'll have your time lapse. Using the camera it's fairly simple, so you switch in between video recording mode and picture taking mode with the mode button from the front of the camera. And once you're in the video recording mode, you basically have access to all the settings for the video recording mode. In there you can change the video resolution. Like most of these action cameras, we have a lot of resolutions available. There is also video quality that you can change and you have 3 settings in there. There is a low light setting and I do recommend that you keep that on auto because otherwise the camera is going to record very dark when you're recording in low light conditions. You can turn on or off the gyro sensor and much more. For the picture taking mode, we have a separate menu, and again, there you can change the picture size. And what's cool about this one is the fact that you can actually choose to take pictures in 16:9, and that's not something that we see for a lot of action cameras. And just like the other menu, you can change a whole bunch of other things, but it really depends what you're looking for and how you're planning to use this camera. And aside from that, of course, we have access to the general settings menu. In there you can change the language, and there are a whole bunch of languages that are supported. You can also change the screen's brightness, turn the LEDs on or off, and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do in there. So it really depends what you're planning to do with this camera and what you're looking to change. And it's time to conclude this video. So for about $140, this camera offers a lot of value and great video recording quality as well. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.